All rise for the pledge to the flag. Looks like there is a lot on the agenda tonight. The first thing would be the ambulance service. Jean, do you have anything to speak on that?
I don't have any particular thing to report. I believe there is information on the Google Drive for the commissioners. I don't believe there's a representative. I don't see a representative of the ambulance service here. If you do have any questions on the information, or if you want additional information, please let me know and I will endeavor to get those questions answered for you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to approve the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes. Tax collector.
There, as you can see from the zeros, there's nothing much to report. As I've said before, this is the time of year that reflects that lull before the bills go out. Now, as everyone who is a property owner knows, you have now received them, but remember, this is the report for February. So delinquencies for the previous year were submitted to tax claim, and the bills as of this report had not yet gone out. And the only bills that were collectible were from the interim and the November per capita. So next month you will begin to see collections appear, and as usual, there are a number of property owners who pay right away. So on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, the lower parking lot is busy.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public. Is Matthew Levy here? No. Mr. Glenn Emery. Here. Please come up to the podium, state your name and your address.
My name is Glenn Emery, 480 Fairway Road. Just a couple things that I just want to discuss from looking at the agenda. One thing that I want to talk about is the discussion that we're going to have about the planning commission. We're going to read you some qualifications that somebody might have to be a good member of the planning commission. He was one time the Cumru planning commissioner chair. Followed that by being a member of the Berks County Planning Commission for probably a decade. He's a certified architect, and an evaluation by the state has a 99% rating in his projects. His name is on a lot of buildings that we see around here, and of course he's got a degree in architecture. He was presented as a candidate for the Planning Commission some months ago. And he was defeated. I had a discussion with Greg Miller about this because I was very interested in his possibility of being put in again. And his name was actually put in the basket to be a candidate for planning commission, and it didn't appear in the agenda. So I'm wondering what's wrong with his qualifications and why somebody like Richard wouldn't at least be a legitimate candidate. A man who's had probably 40 or 50 years in architecture and planning commission work. My second subject is, we all know there's been a lot of discussion about the vacancy chair. That's been something that's gone back and forth many times. And I'm hoping that we're going to hear something about that this evening so that we can at least find out what is the law and how it represents us and how we the people can be represented with this vacancy chair. And thirdly, I noticed that there's on the executive committee, there's going to be a discussion about the new 10 warehouse. And I just wanted to add that the headlines today around Cumru Township is a pretty serious accident that occurred on the intersection of 724 and Route 10. And we know how many vehicles might come about when there's a 738,000 square foot warehouse that's going to house 200 trucks. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there are no other public comments, we'll move.
I'm sorry, Alicia, could I do something real quick here? So we got an email, we being the commissioners earlier from a gentleman. I'm going to attempt to pronounce his name. I might butcher it, so I apologize if I do, but it's CJ Alushki, maybe. Sorry if I do have that incorrect. Mr. Alushki has some trouble with public speaking, so I was just going to kind of not read his entire email, but just maybe summarize it so we could talk. He does say he watches this back on YouTube, so I'll kind of enter it into a record for him. But the long story short is he lives at 137 Mountain View Road. He's had some issues in the past, I guess, with shooting around his property from some of his neighbors. The police have been called in. And to make a long story short, he just wants to know what can be done about it, if anything, if I'm kind of summarizing his email. So I was hoping maybe Chief Winchester could maybe give a little background on
that. Sure. Yeah, so we did get the complaint forwarded to us. I did some research. We were out at the property a number of times. The first time being in, I believe it was April 23. There was a complaint for shots being fired and the possibility of fragments or projectiles exiting the property and going onto a neighboring property. We did respond, we investigated, we looked, we couldn't substantiate that. However, we did touch base with the property tenant, and it was determined that changes will be made in the direction where he was firing. He was doing it in a lawful manner. It is private property. He has the acreage to do it. And it was being done in a safe manner, but it could have been done safer, which he did make the improvements to include building up a backstop. We did respond out a few more times after that from various other complaints, mostly individuals alarmed by hearing the sound of gunshots, which is not unusual. Every time we did do our due diligence, we went out and we determined that there was nothing that was illegal being done. It's absolutely legal to discharge a firearm on your property or on private property with permission in a safe manner, as long as it's not harmful in any way. I would like to point out as well that, as many people know in that area, the Reading Police firing range is right across Route 10. It's also unknown if any of these calls were a result of RPD shooting at their range or vice versa. So we did look into it, and I had extensive conversations in the past with the board as well as the solicitors in regards to options that the board would have. And what it boils down to is it's very difficult, if not impossible, for regulations to be put in place that will be constitutionally valid with restricting legal discharging of a firearm on private property. There have been complaints of individuals claiming they're constructed a gun range, but all of that's addressed in various laws and titles that really have guidelines on how to construct a range, if you will. Target practicing is totally permissible, and it's very difficult to define the difference between shooting range and just simply exercising your right to target shoot on private property. So I guess the bottom line is, if everything is legal, which it has been in this situation and in the past, there's really not too much we can do. We just remind neighbors to be neighborly and not discharge any kind of firearm at an unreasonable, what would be perceived as an unreasonable time of day, like in the middle of the night when people are trying to sleep, most people anyway. And usually people are act accordingly and are neighborly. So that kind of summarizes the conversation that we had, that I shared with the board earlier today.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Medicine.
Thank you. You all should have my monthly report on your tablets. As you will see, we did remain busy, but nothing extraordinary outside the normal busy. So item B on the agenda is the body worn cameras. I wanted to provide an update. I did provide an update to the liaisons at our meeting on Monday, that they are up and running. We did deploy them. We're waiting on a few more things to get every officer updated. At this point, there's 2 officers that don't have the clips enabling the body camera to be attached to their uniform. That being said, the general order has been pushed out. But what is required is the board to consider updating the resolution for the open records in regards to the fees for video requests. Following the Pennsylvania State Police's ordinance and fee structure, I recommend that we consider $100 per recording fee for body worn camera video requests. And these are regulated not only under open records, but specifically under Act 22, which specifically addresses the body worn camera footage in Pennsylvania. So at this point, I would ask that the board make a motion to allow, I guess, Kelsey to amend the resolution for the fee structure for the open records Act / 22 video requests to $100 per recording.
I'll make a motion for the $100 fee.
I'll second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. Under item C, just to provide a update on the civil service testing, we have scheduled a test for April 19th of this year. That will be over at the Flex on the campus of Albernia University. The applications are due on the 17th, which is that Thursday prior to the testing. We have received some applications. We are putting that out through social media and advertising. Manager Johnston advertised that at the Red Eagle. So we are moving forward with that, and we hope to get a lot of applicants. So please share that with anybody and everybody. The application can be downloaded. You can write it yourself, fill it out. There's a QR code on our Facebook, and we distributed flyers and put them in various locations in the township today. So that's on there. And finally, there was discussion at the liaison meeting in regards to police vehicles. We are in need of a vehicle due to situations that arose recently. And discussion was had in regards to hybrid electric vehicles for the PD. These vehicles do not require to be plugged in, but they are hybrid, and they have been, I've been hearing good things about them from other departments that do have these vehicles. They are fairly new, they are popular. So we had an extensive conversation about that, and I would ask that the board consider authorizing myself, Manager Johnston, to explore the budget to see if we can free up any kind of monies in my budget, in the police budget, for possibly purchasing a hybrid vehicle.
What kind of hybrid vehicle? Is it another patrol car or what?
Yes, at this point, it would be an Interceptor, a Ford Interceptor, so it would be an Explorer.
So what we would use that for is still under consideration, conversation. We are in need of a detective vehicle. So we're looking at our options on where we would place that. So like I said, I just guess what I'm looking for is authorization for.
Do you need a motion for that?
Great. Thank you. So I guess I got the nodded heads out. We'll continue to look and explore that. Thank you very much. That's all I have unless anyone has anything.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Chief number 2, Chief Dean, Fire Department.
Good evening, Commissioners. You should have received the February report. As you can see, we pretty much stay constant. It's calls. If there's any questions, I'll gladly take them on that report. I'll keep it moving. Item B is, I met with my party liaison, Mr. William Miller, and we will need to do civil service testing because our list that we currently have is depleted. I would say that is depleted by either other departments taking people off of the list or people just withdrawing their names. So need to get through the steps to make sure we're done with that list and we can set up a time to go through civil service testing. But no date has been set as of yet. To maintain a list for potential use in the future, because we already have lost one to Cumru Township, and I have not had the chance to figure out how we're going to do that because I have no one on a list. So we need to do a test anyways to replace that individual if the board so desires. I would highly recommend it, but we got to go through a process. It doesn't happen overnight, as Chief Winchester alluded to this testing. I'll keep moving here under item C. Looking for a motion for pay application number 9 from Bolton Incorporated for $518,526.32. And pay application number 7 from Vision Mechanical for $49,365 for a total of $567,891.32.
I move that my application number 7. I second.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. Item D I have on here, I would ask for, I guess if we need a motion, because they'll be able to tell me better. I'd like to advertise for filling our 3rd captain position for the fire department. It was budgeted, I believe, for a half a year, but until we get through this process, it'll be a half a year. It'll be June. Because here we are almost 2/3 of the way through March already. Until we get the applications out and advertised, do the interviews. It'll be around that time frame till we get bring that person off. So I'm looking for a motion to advertise for the 3rd captain of the job description, which was budgeted for in the 2025 budget.
No motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. And just one other thing, more of a public service announcement. Since people are watching this on YouTube, if you have a burn permit in the township, right now, please take into consideration weather conditions, the ground conditions, and do not burn. Just because you have the permit issued, which you have to have 10 acres for it. Do not burn. This also goes for people having just recreational fires, chimneys, fire pits, and so forth in your backyards. At this point, I would just ask that people do not use those recreational devices. Because it's extremely dry and it only takes a little bit of an ember to get things going. And if we don't get more rain here, we're probably going to see another burn ban like we had last year. It's more of a public service announcement to just please be considerate and think about what you're doing prior to late stuff. I know everyone wants to get rid of things if they have the ability to do it, but this is not the time to just openly burning or recreationally burning here in the township. So, thank you. That's all I have.
On that topic, what are your thoughts on, if it sounds like the conditions are such that it would be foolish for people to be burning, would it be prudent for us to enact the burn ban proactively?
I think since we had some rain Sunday, we do have some rain Thursday. It's just like that was sort of a wait and watch thing. And just remember that doesn't take out cooking. You're still allowed to cook over the fire. It's either A, putting it out properly, having the right things to attend to it, you know, leaving it alone. Those are the things there. I don't think at this point here, since we get some rain Sunday, some areas got more than others. I think right now we can hold off. But as time goes on, this is going to be something to keep monitoring, and it doesn't have to be countywide. It's something I believe we can do as a township if we so desire. But obviously that puts more work on both departments, and I'll say this for PD too, because they'll be there too. And you just have the people that want to abide by it and the enforcement issues and stuff like that. But at this point here, I'm okay with it being like it is. But we're going to keep on, and as weeks go on here, we'll update the board, and if we have to put a ban in place, put a ban in place.
If I could say something, I forgot to put it on the agenda, but it doesn't have any, there's no money involved, there's no motions involved, so just, FYI. I am the, Township Emergency Management Coordinator, and, myself and the fire department will be taking part in a mass casualty drill out at the Titus station on, April 10th. This was, brought about by the Reading Hospital because their future doctors, they need to have trauma experience. And so they kind of started the whole ball rolling, and then they involved everybody else in the neighboring counties and everything. So I guess just FYI, if you see a whole lot of action going on at Titus on April 10th, it is a drill. It is just to give everybody experience in what we're supposed to do if there's an actual problem. So I just want to give a little shout out that we will be working on things. So if you see anything going on, thank you.
No, that sounds great. Thanks. Okay, team administration.
Good evening, commissioners. In regard to the codes department, as you can see, there was a low level of activity, which makes sense for a February report. I do want to let you know that upcoming we have blighted property hearings for 2 properties in the township. The township and other municipalities can submit to the Berks County Blighted Property Committee, and they conduct a series of hearings. It's a lengthy process to determine whether a property is truly blighted, and then if the property is declared blighted, then what the outcome of that will be. And connected with that, Cumru Township has worked very well with the county over a number of years on blighted properties. We've had good success with dealing with properties that have been determined to be blighted. Oftentimes, as soon as the property is referred to the Blighted Property Committee, lo and behold, something happens to either inspire it to be renovated or sold and then renovated. So we have a very good success rate. Mr. Frymore, who's our codes enforcement officer, and he's in the audience, he has been asked by the Berks County Bar Association to participate in a workshop as one of the panel discussion individuals on referring properties to the Blighted Property Committee. So I think it's an honor for them to have invited him, and he's quite knowledgeable about it. And I wanted the board to know that he will be participating in that workshop. Item C is the insurances. The board may recall that our insurance renewal date for workers' comp, auto, and liability of the various kinds actually lands between your meeting on, April 13th. I do not have a, to the penny quote for you. However, what I'm asking, and I believe we did this last year as well, and we've had to do it in other years, is asking the board for authorization for me to bind coverage if we do not, we can't go without insurance. If the board is not satisfied with the coverage and the price that we get, we can always seek out other coverage. But I need that authorization to at least continue coverage. So I'm asking for an authorization to bind coverage for those various insurances beginning April 13th. And of course, I will report back to the board at your April 15th meeting. You also have an April 29th meeting this year.
Okay, do you need a motion on that?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Dave, are you second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is an unusual item. A student from the Governor Mifflin High School had contacted me. His name is Garrett Hyman. He has founded the Mifflin Memorial Arboretum. In 2024, he had, in phase one of his project, he planted a number of trees on Governor Mifflin School District property in the borough of Shillington. And these are not just little seedlings. These are 10-foot tall trees. These are significant trees. Phase two of his project is going to be in Cumru Township, also on Governor Mifflin School District property. He has the property on the permission, but the reason it's on your agenda tonight is not only because he would be grateful for anyone who wants to purchase a tree to memorialize with a plaque, but in last year, the borough of Shillington assisted him with providing public works equipment to go get the trees. It's a significant distance. It's at a nursery down in the Norristown area. And as I said, these are 10-foot tall trees. They're not little seedlings. He is requesting assistance from Cumru Township Public Works to do something similar, to take a large vehicle and some people down there to pick up the trees and bring them back. And Mr. McNichols and I would like a motion for the board authorizing us to do that. It is a first track going out there, and of course, we will be carrying some merchandise in the truck on the way back. So we're requesting authorization to go pick up some trees.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller.
Yeah.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
You sound like you had a question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we could talk to this gentleman about possibly bringing his arboretum to maybe Cumru Township property.
My recommendation to the board is a recommendation I made a long time ago, and that is in plan. I really would like the board to consider as your next planning endeavor an open space plan. Because one of the big differences, for example, between Cumru Township and Shillington Borough is Shillington Borough actually encourages planting of trees in the right of ways. We do not allow that. And there are reasons for that. But there are potentially other places where we might want trees. For example, when PP&L was giving us free trees, they aren't giving us free trees anymore, unfortunately. We did a significant tree planting in two areas of the township. One in the fields that are catty corner to where we're at right now, this corner over here that the township owns. And two, down near the Ashley Run subdivision, the 10 acres that the township owns. Some of the trees lived, some did not. Those were not 10-foot tall trees. Those are not the same caliber or caliper of tree that this young man is purchasing. And so that's something that we could talk about, is to replace many of the trees that did not survive those plantings. But I would highly encourage the board to have a plan first before investing in pine trees.
On that point, Jane, does he do the planning? Like, I mean, does he come in with a full, field?
He has volunteers that help. I'm sure he would take more volunteers, but he has volunteers who help. I have also connected him up with a lot of information. First of all, I have, he has a map, and if anyone is the board is interested, I can send you the map. But essentially, I needed to know where he was planting these trees. Some of them are parallel to 724. I had to make sure he wasn't planting them in the right of way of 724 because that's a state permit. And so I did some research for him on different subdivision maps that show where the right of way of 724 is. I also gave him map references. I don't know if everyone knows, but the property owners on the west side of Governor Drive actually own a strip of property on the east side of Governor Drive, on the property that you would think belongs to the Governor Mifflin School District for Cumru Elementary, all along the stream there. The property owners on the other side of the road own a strip of property along there. So I sent him some map references to make sure he's not planting trees on someone else's property. I also connected him up with several mini grant programs to buy more trees. I do not know if he will be successful. I've also connected him up with the Angelica Creek Watershed Association. I'm the municipal representative to that group. Patty is my backup. We go to their meetings frequently. And since he's planted where he wants to plant the trees in the area of Cumru Elementary and Mifflin Elementary is in the Angelica Creek Watershed, I'm connecting him up with that group for further resources for volunteers and or potentially donations to buy more trees. So that's the long and the short of it. He does have a crew of people behind him.
What's it cost to purchase the tree?
$225 is what he told me. And then somebody who buys a tree in memory of someone else or to commemorate something, that a plaque can be installed in front of the tree for that.
If he plants them in Cumru Township, must we take care of them, or who takes care of the tree?
The trees belong to the property owner, which is the Governor Mifflin School District. And it would be whatever agreement he has with the school district. I did recommend, and he probably, the young man is very, very familiar with trees. I also sent him, I don't know if anyone knows it, we actually have an approved tree list. It's in the back of the subdivision and land development ordinance. It encourages native species rather than non-native species. I sent him that list, and also talked about our ins and outs with tree plantings and the appetite of deer. They are quite voracious, as anybody who owns landscaping knows. You have to protect it from the deer. I will let you know today, I also received an email from the state. The state is instituting a program to encourage property owners to remove non-native species and plant native species. I have to look over this material. I'll have it at your next meeting. But for example, some common species that are sold, say, at Lowe's and Home Depot, such as butterfly bushes, are one of the target species on this list to replace with native species. So I'll get you more information for your next meeting, but it looks to me like a really good program on the state's part to try to discourage non-native species and encourage native species trees. So I know that was a longer answer than we expected.
It's great, thank you.
The next item is related. I don't know if the board is and the public is aware, but the Sunoco on 724 at the northeast corner of the intersection of 724 and 625, the Sunoco is actually in Kenford Borough. That is not in Cumru County. On the south side of 724, on the southeast corner of 724 and 625, that is it's a very wetland area. That area is in Cumru Township and was purchased several years ago by Burke's Nature. And Burke's Nature is applying for a DCNR grant. to extend the Angelica Creek Trail through that property. We also have a sewer right of way through that property along the creek. And Burke's Nature is asking for a letter of support from the Cumru Township Board of Commissioners for this grant application.
I would move to what is it?
Authorize-
Authorize the letter of support.
I'll second.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. Another item is, the board may be familiar with the Reading Area Transportation Study. For the public's edification, the substantial funding that comes from the federal government is locally distributed by a group called the Reading Area Transportation Study. Every county has a group, there are various names for them, but they're groups through a series of regulations decide how to use the funds that we get. So for instance, 222 South, limited access through Cumru Township was on their project list. 222 North is on their project list. That's the one by intersecting with Route 73, past Marcellum Springs, that, yeah, all the way up to Allentown. And they're the 422 bypass upgrade that will hopefully happen sometime during our lifetimes, et cetera. Every 4 years, the Reading Area Transportation Study has to look at their 12-year plan. So every 4 years, they look at the next 12 years. Sometimes things stay the same, sometimes they change in terms of priorities. They are required to have public outreach meetings. I don't know if everyone is aware, but the county bought several years ago what is the former Guytronics building in Moton. It is actually in Moton. It is literally across the street from Cumru Township, but it's in Moton. And the county is moving various services there. And by April, the Industrial Development Authority, Berks County Planning, and CDBG, Community Development Block Grant will all be in that building. There are some other things in that building. Our local MDJ is also in that building. But because they're moving, they need to have this April meeting, but because they're in the middle of moving, they would like to have that April public outreach meeting right here in this meeting room. And I approve that. You don't have to make a motion. I just wanted to let the board know that that meeting is going to be occurring. And that is for the public to come in, take a look at what Reading Area Transportation Study has on its list of projects and to provide feedback. So I would encourage anybody who becomes aware of it to come to that meeting, and I'll post that on the website as well. In regard to planning, we have a number of items. Some of them are reaffirmations of approval. Some are, there are other actions needed. So the first item, I don't know if the board is aware, but budget storage, which is next to the Ollies, they have a small amount of their escrow left. They are requesting that to be released. It's only $5,750. This has not been reviewed by the solicitor or the engineer yet. What we're requesting is that the board authorize that release, especially given the small amount, subject to approval of the solicitor and engineer. I will let you know that budget storage plans on submitting a phase 2 for the back of that parking lot. They are, they've given us a lot of positive feedback about their development in Cumru Township. So we are requesting, as it states on here, authorization to release that escrow subject to those conditions.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
The next item is Old Hickory Buildings. This is a development down on Route 10. They had received final approval with condition for their plan. And as we explained at a prior meeting, every 90 days, the recorder of deeds, before they will allow recording of the plan, wants the approval to be reaffirmed every 90 days. Now, the solicitor also has this on your executive session list because there is litigation concerning this. I didn't know if you wanted to leave that until after executive session.
Yeah, the litigation doesn't really have anything to do with the reaffirmation that you're looking for tonight. I just wanted to update the board on where that stood within the litigation.
I was gonna ask that question, so we can still do this, or should we still do this, is maybe the question?
The issue is that final plan approval was already granted. So if you fail to reaffirm based on a recorder of deeds rule and the plan can't get recorded, it's gonna end up in litigation. Because they're gonna have to file something with the Court of Common Pleas to basically force the Court of Common Pleas to get the recorder of deeds to record it. So because there was already final plan approval, the reaffirmation is basically just something that, yeah, it's a rubber stamp that you need to do for the recorder of deeds.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Craig Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Baddour,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
The next item also would be, related to that. Even though Old Hickory Buildings, the plan is located on the east side of Route 10, across from Green Hills Corporate Center. Green Hills Corporate Center does have sanitary sewer, however, they own the sewer main and will not allow any other connection. We do not own that sewer main. So this particular development, which consists of one small building in Cumru Township and one small building in Robeson Township, must use on-lot systems for their sewage. The Cumru Township Sewage Enforcement Officer, Warm Castle Geoenvironmental, has approved the planning module exemption for this building, the one that is in Cumru. And the next step is that the administration needs to sign that as well before it's sent to the DEP. The Planning Commission also looked at this at their last meeting, and they concur with allowing the administration to sign the sewer planning module exemption for on-lot. And so now it's before the Board of Commissioners as well.
Kind of the same question, Kelsey, is that okay to get into this?
Yeah, so the sewer planning was a condition of the final plan approval. So if the sewage enforcement officer reviewed the plan and found it to be acceptable, and for the sewer modules to be, accepted, then really you're bound to do that. As long as the sewage enforcement officer accepted those plans, it was a condition of the final approval.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Baddour,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. Similarly, in the same area of the world, Penske is the tenant as a Green Hills Corporate Center. And they have a plan that has been in front of the township for a while as well to do a significant renovation to the front of their building. However, they have not recorded their plan. This is for reaffirmation of that final plan approval and, subject to the conditions as stated.
I would move to reaffirm.
I'll second.
Mr. Baddour,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
The next item is Taco Bell. Taco Bell also received final plan approval with condition from the township. Their biggest condition is they are awaiting the city of Reading to review their sanitary sewer planning models. This would be located in front of the budget storage and the ollies where the, tent for flowers and vegetables usually, they would be located literally right where that tent would be. And their sanitary would go out front. They are awaiting, the review from the city of Reading for the planning modules. And they need reaffirmation because that process has taken longer than the 90 days. So that, again, we're dealing with the recorder of deeds rule.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor, Ms. Rouse.
Yes.
The next item I have is the 1917 Cedar Top Road. Now, this is also a sanitary sewer issue. However, in this one, we have they need reaffirmation of the plan. In this case, we also need the Board of Commissioners. The second action is to adopt the appropriate resolution authorizing administration to send the sanitary sewer planning modules into DEP. In this case, the city of Reading reviewed it finally, and all things are in place. So we need either one motion with two parts or two motions. One to reaffirm the plan approval, and two, adopting the resolution to allow the sanitary sewer planning modules to be sent into DEP. They are already connected to sanitary sewer. The property owner is to be commended for contacting us during the Cedar Top Road project so that we didn't have to dig up a new road. They connected while the road was open, and it was the right thing to do. So, we need a motion with two parts for that.
I would move to reaffirm the final approval and authorize the sending of the planning modules.
I'll second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It is a simple subdivision, and it's been a long process. The last planning item you have is, this is not a reaffirmation, this is a final approval for a minor subdivision. If, people are familiar with the church near the Goggosville Fire Company, the church has a residue piece of land along Vermont Road. Vermont Road is a state road, by the way, not a township road. There's an extra piece of land there that they are subdividing. The church received approval from the zoning hearing board, and it's called the Bruce Wyomissing UCC minor subdivision. The planning commission reviewed this and is recommending final approval for this minor subdivision, conditioned on compliance with any outstanding issues in the township engineer's review letter, which would be such as later obtaining DEP planning module approval and obtaining all signatures and paying all fees.
I move to grant the approval conditioned upon engineering service.
I'll second it.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Backdoor,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I know that was a long planning section, but I appreciate everyone's patience with my reading out all of that material. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Superintendent Bob McNichols.
Good evening. All I have to report is we finally received our 10-ton Freightliner today. That's the truck we ordered in July of 2022. It took 31 months for various reasons for that truck to be delivered and built. So we have it here, and hopefully we won't need it anymore this winter. But that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Mr. Roguski, engineer.
Just one item to report this evening. The township was contacted by BARDA. They're looking at relocating their existing bus shelter that's currently in front of the gas pumps for the giant supermarket along Lancaster Avenue. They'd like to relocate it in front of the Shillington Shopping Center. we're suggesting that they prepare a sketch plan and be placed on an upcoming planning commission meeting to get some feedback from the planning commission members. We're not sure exactly which approvals they'll need, but it may need either go through land development plan or an abbreviated version of land development or building permit. But there are several issues that we do want to look at as far as pedestrian safety, traffic related, more or less PennDOT, making sure that their approvals are secured. So we'll hopefully have some more details, but this is going to be forthcoming, and we hope to see them at an upcoming planning commission meeting.
One of the reasons I asked Mr. Rogoski to be involved is everyone knows how busy the PennDOT driver's license center is there. It's incredibly busy. And there are multiple driveways. They want to move the bus stop from in front near the giant gas pumps across Elkins to in front of where the DMV is. And they want to make it about 3 times the size. They want to make it a very large bus stop. There are numerous driveways, numerous pre-existing, definitely non-conforming driveways into that entire plaza. There are 2 different property owners involved, and the road from Elkins at Lancaster Avenue to Elkins at Harding is not a public road. I want to emphasize that. It looks like a public road, but it is not. And I wanted Joe to be involved because there are issues with people potentially walking from one of the stores across the parking lot, and there's a drive aisle that parallels Lancaster Avenue, somebody swinging around at that light and running right into a pedestrian. So I would definitely like pedestrian safety to be kept in mind. I don't want to stop Florida from having a bus stop, don't get me wrong, but I want to make sure that the pedestrian circulation around that lot is taken into account. And the Rite Aid is on a separate lot. Wow.
I agree with Gene. There are some areas, especially with the driveway being very close to Lancaster Avenue, you're going to have ingress and egress movements that can really, Gene's right, a pedestrian could walk across there and be in direct conflict with the vehicle entering in that shopping center. I think I'd suggest they at least provide us a layout and how they're going to have movement. And I think it's correct. I think they really need to do some additional traffic signage and line painting within that shopping center just to enhance safety for that reasoning, because it is a free flowing movement. I've observed it myself on numerous occasions, and I do have a safety issue, especially now that they're going to be relocating more pedestrians.
Are they going to be closing the current location? Or is this going to be in addition? Is this going to be in addition to what we have, or is this just going to be a new one in a new location?
My understanding is they're going to remove the existing bus shelter in front of the gas pumps at Giant and construct a new facility in front of the shopping center where the PennDOT testing center is currently located.
And I think doing this just to make it larger, is that the purpose?
Larger and handicap,
And
more
also
handicap
greatly
accessible.
ADA accessibility. Currently, I believe the existing one is not completely ADA accessible. They probably want to improve that, and with the new facility, it seems like the grades in the area are more conducive to meeting those requirements.
And if you look on Google Earth, you'll see the sidewalk in front of the Giant is only 4 feet wide, but the sidewalk in front of the DMV side of the plaza is at least 6 feet wide. It's an extra wide area. The grade, as Joe was pointing out, the grade is a little bit better. I can understand why they want to use it. It's just the circulation of cars around that parking lot is the concern, and it's a very busy parking lot. I'm sure if anyone's ever been to either the DMV or the pet store or any of those stores, you've seen how busy it is. Yes, the Rite Aid, and by the way, the Rite Aid is a separate property. That's actually yes. Yes. So you got multiple driveways, multiple property owners. There's a lot of action going on there.
Well, opens the Harding then.
It's split down the middle between the owner of the plaza where the DMV is and the owner of the Giant Plaza. Which is not Giant, you know, it's a corporate real estate entity. One of our previous managers, Jim Sigworth, when the Giant was in planning, and there used to be a Farmore drugstore, and before that, for all of us oldsters, a Sears Roebuck, a long time ago. When it was in planning to demolish the then structure and create the Giant, Mr. Sigworth gave both property owners on both sides a list of what they would need to do to bring that up to a standard that the township could adopt it as a public road, and the two property owners, neither of them wished to cooperate with that.
The reason I bring that up is the pothole, when you go to turn right on that, that would be on the DMV side, would be on the Giant side.
Right.
So the owner of the DMV side, they'd be accountable for that pothole.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, move on to the solicitor report from Kelsey Grinkowski.
Good news, I have nothing to report, which means there are no legal issues. Everything I have to report is gonna be talked about in executive session.
Thanks. Next up, payment of the bills. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
I make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll say.
Mr. Bettdorf,
Yes.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, correspondence. Permit reissuance for Beagle Club Ash Disposal Site, dated 2/18/25.
To describe it for the board, I don't know if the board is aware, many years ago, there used to be a dog club out that was headquartered out at Poplar Neck. And that's why there's a private right of way out at Poplar Neck called Beagle Club Road. And you'll see it that way on Google Maps and such. It is not a public road, but there is an old ash disposal site from when the Titus Station was a coal-fired power plant. That ash disposal site is not currently taking any new ashes, it's capped, but there are maintenance requirements, and that's what this permit is about. They need a permit to maintain a site that they're required by regulation to maintain. That's what that is.
So out of curiosity, if we were not issued the permit, would they be compelled to like remove the site or like remediate it?
It's not our permit, it's a DEP permit, so we have no authority over it. But the permit has to do with their requirements for remediating the site to the extent that's required by regulation. There are older ash sites out in that area. That on north of 422, there's an old ash site adjacent to Neversink Mountain. And after so many years, whatever is determined under regulation, then they are decommissioned, if you will. This one is still under their period where they have to actively maintain it, make sure the grass is growing, et cetera, and monitor it.
Okay, commissioners, under A, vacancy for planning commission, nominations and appointment. So it looks like there's two positions available, a regular member position and one alternate member position available. I think there are a few candidates for these.
Yeah, just to jump in, this was my suggestion to Jean and Patty, to structure the agenda this way, because the way it should work is if there is a vacancy for a regular member, then anyone on the Board of Commissioners can nominate someone for that position. You can give their background or however you want to nominate them, and they'll be on the list of nominees, and then we'll take a vote based on that list of nominees. First for the regular member position, and then we can do the same thing for the alternate member position. I just felt like that was more organized, and that everyone could have a chance to nominate whomever they chose to nominate.
Yeah, I think Mr. Emery brought up a really good point. once again, somebody who's in this room today has more experience, with planning than anyone in this room. And I mean, we can split hairs, but the person is more than qualified for the role. And he's here, he's a regular attendee, he's involved in the township's activities. And he has volunteered his very qualified time to help the township. So again, I would nominate Mr. Kepler.
So the nominations can be made. There doesn't need to be a second. You can nominate and then we'll take a vote on the nominees that are named. This is for the regular position, correct?
But I like to nominate,
Sorry, then the candidate who gets the majority of the votes would have that position and get the appointment.
I'd like to nominate Clancy Hurd.
Would you care to give us some background on their experience qualification?
Yeah, Clancy's a local independent businessman. In fact, the township rents from him. He owns a store and lot facilities out there on 724. It's called Ridgewood. He's also been the owner of the lumber yard, the Green Hills Lumber. So he's dialed into development in this community, and he's an astute businessman.
And I believe Gene, he's already an alternate member, correct?
Yeah.
So just so the board knows, Mr. Hurd is already an alternate member on the planning commission.
Okay, yeah, so that was gonna be my next question, because I thought that I heard that. What,
You have the freedom to nominate someone who's already on the planning commission as an alternate, as the regular member, or someone who has no affiliation with the planning commission whatsoever as a regular member.
So effectively with him, we would still have 2 slots open.
Correct. If he won the vote for the regular member position, then you'd have 2 alternate member positions open, so go for it tonight or whenever you wanted to fill that.
is it like normal procedure for somebody who is already sitting there to progress into the permanent spot, or doesn't it matter?
It doesn't matter. In fact, this is the first year, the 2024, 2025 is the first period of time we've ever had planning alternates. The municipality's planning code has allowed for planning alternates for years, but the township has never appointed them until recently.
I would just comment, I think our priority should be qualification, not the formality of what position someone has had in the past. And if somebody's qualified, and I'm not, irrespective of how we decide to vote, whether or not the nomination I made goes through, I think goes without saying, but quality.
Do we need a second on that nomination?
Well, I have one more question for Dave. Did Clancy say that he was interested in the regular position? Because if not, then.
No, he said that in fact, it's a little personal with him. I knew his father, and they used to live in Cumru Township, was a planning board member himself. So it's kind of he feels somewhat of a personal responsibility.
Mr. Hurd came to the last planning commission and participated.
Okay, and then there was another person, Zilskowski or something like that.
Keith Ziliskowski. He is also an alternate, correct? Or no? Oh, he was not appointed. He was at a meeting in the fall. In November, he was in the audience. I don't know if you remember when he stood up.
He's the real estate agent, correct? When we served, mortgage broker.
And he has come to a couple of meetings and he has also recently affirmed that he's still interested in participating.
I would suggest putting him on alternate, unless you feel that he's going to be consistent in his attendance. What do you, I mean, what are
No,
your
I
thoughts?
I don't want to make a judgment.
Okay. Well, I mean, we only, if
Yeah, don't take
How many
anything back.
candidates now already for the person? I mean,
Yeah, and I'm not saying, I'm not giving an opinion one way or the other, I'm just saying, yes, you could put him in as an alternate if you wish. What we
Well,
have.
has he
we have to-
expressed interest in you that, you know, he would consider? being
Yes,
more
yes,
involved and
yes.
putting him.
Okay, first we have to deal with the regular. Thank you.
never pronounce his name, so I don't picture anything else.
So first, so there are two individuals nominated for the regular planning commission position, Mr. Pepper and Mr. Hurd. We've been talking about Mr. Zeloskowski, but I didn't hear him actually nominated.
Okay, I'll nominate Keith Zillikowski.
Okay,
Now
now
we
we have
nominate him for the regular membership position or the alternate, because right now we're just talking about the regular member.
For the regular membership. I nominate Keith Zillikowski for the regular, position on the zoning hearing reform?
planning commission.
Planning commission, sorry.
So we've got three.
Madam Chairman, can I speak on my behalf?
Yes, you may.
My name is Rich Pepper, and I was on the Cumru Township Planning Commission back in the late 1980s. I also was the chairman of the Planning Commission. I served on the Berks County Planning Commission for a number of years and was appointed by the county commissioners at that time to be the county architect. Since 1983, I've done numerous land development plans in eastern Pennsylvania. I probably have more experience than almost anybody that would have nominated here. I would be happy to serve on the Township Planning Commission again. Thank you.
Thank you. And, so none of the other candidates showed up? Nobody else on behalf of them? Okay.
So there's three nominees, and I would say we take a roll call vote and the board can vote for the nominee that they prefer.
So,
I mean,
We're just voting for the regular member first,
yeah,
and then there'll be a second discussion on the alternates.
because I feel the board, if they want to nominate someone, everyone should have the right to nominate someone for appointment, and the vote can be based on those nominees.
So do you want each commissioner to name who they would prefer? Is that how you want to do it? Or take each name and do a yay or nay?
I think, I mean, I don't know that it really matters either way.
Okay.
Can we
Because you're
just-
gonna vote yes for one and no for two.
Can we just go through and select a name if there is a majority for that name? That person goes through, if not, the least votes gets filtered out and then we just go through a second.
It's like a ranked choice.
Yeah, I believe that works. I mean, we need a minority vote, so. Okay.
All right, let's see how this goes. Mr. Bill Miller.
I vote for Clancy Herb. And then Keith Zukowski as the alternate.
Well, let's do the regular first.
I just vote for Clancy Herb.
Mr. Greg Miller.
Richard Pepper.
Mr. Badger.
Clancy Herb.
Mr. Donnell.
Mr. Pepper.
And Ms. Brown.
well, because he's the one who cared to show up, I'm gonna vote for Rich Pepper.
So he will be the regular member, and then we can take nominees for the alternate member, and do another roll call vote on the alternate member.
Yeah, there's no reason to nominate him, correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So Mr. Herr's already an alternate member, so there's no need to nominate him for that position.
So it would be just taking a vote on Mr. Zeloskowski.
I would vote on I would not, move to nominate Mr. Zeloskowski as an alternate.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Mr. Zeloskowski has been nominated as an alternate, as the alternate member. Okay, do we want to just take a vote on that? Because it sounds like
Sure.
the board's in agreement that they want to appoint him to alternate.
Okay, Mr. Bill Miller. This
Yes,
is,
for Mr. Zimikowski.
okay, Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bador,
Yes, for Keith.
Mr. Donnell,
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
Thank you. The May Board of Commissioners meeting. We used to, prior to, the rec building, we used to every year have to reschedule the May Board of Commissioners meeting because voting was in this room. Now that the rec building is being used for the construction crews, we have to, voting takes place in this room. So for your May meeting during the May primary, you need to reschedule your May meeting. It used to be tradition, there's no regulation about this. It used to be tradition to schedule it for the next day, the Wednesday, but you don't have to do that. You can look at your schedules and do a different day if you wish.
Is May at 5 Tuesday?
No, April is. April is the 15th and the 29th.
In that case, is there any opposition difference between the following?
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
The following week is zoning hearing. Now, we have no idea if there will be any zoning hearing on that night. It kind of depends on if it's anything that's going to have some level of attendance, whether it will fit upstairs or not.
Is there any opposition? Is there any conflict with the prior week?
The second Tuesday, no, I don't believe there is. So you would have April 15th, April 29th, and like May, what is that, 16th?
The 13th would be the second Tuesday.
No, that, I don't believe that would be a conflict, right?
I can't make 13th of April. I mean, May. Yeah, I'll be in New Jersey.
Another consideration for the board is even though the meetings are usually in the evenings, there's no regulation on that either. You can schedule it during the day if you wish.
Is there any, I'm looking at my calendar too, the Wednesday following, I guess that would be the 21st. Is probably difficult for me, but the Monday prior.
Is there anything on the, what is it, the 19th?
Yeah, that's right. That actually causes a problem for public works in, clearing out the room for voting, right?
Well, not only that, but the general election starts setting up about 6 o'clock the night before.
Okay.
So we're in her way,
What about the 22nd? Andy?
you know.
Is that the Thursday? Does anyone else have, Kelsey, are you available on the Thursday?
Yeah, I have no conflict. I'm good.
Whatever time the board wishes.
Yeah, it's the same time.
So the May meeting Thursday, the 22nd at 7 p.m. in this room. So I will re-advertise the meeting and we'll put that on the website.
And if I could, I know Mr. Emery had a question earlier about the vacancy board, and I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah.
I can give you the citation, but it is in the the first class township code. It's section 55530B3. And it indicates that whoever the register elector is that gets appointed to the vacancy board may not vote for themselves to fill a vacancy in any office. And that register elector will remain the chairperson of the vacancy board until they either resign or something unfortunate happens to them. But that is within the actual first class township code.
Thank you, Kelsey.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there's nothing else at the moment, we'll go into the executive session. Oh, did you want to give public comment?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to step up to the podium, please, and state your name and address.
Jackie Martin, 13 minutes ago. So I have been a resident of Cumru Township for about 6 years now. I have 4 children, with my children here, no issue. So I'm here today on the behalf of my brother who is missing. So this is directed to Chief Winchester. I don't feel like I'm looking at him, but my question is, what are your procedures? What are your procedures when conducting an active investigation? As far as collecting evidence, that was null and void. I did get a chance to look over your procedure protocol, and you're supposed to systematically collect, label, and secure that evidence. Dating back to January 2nd, when my brother has become missing, the evidence has not been secured, nor labeled, nor collected. We're going into, I want to say 77 days now, and yet we still don't know where my brother is. So my parents and I had showed up here to this municipal building actually a week into his disappearance. Chief Winchester then addressed my parents in such a manner and behavior, undermining the foundational rights of guaranteed by the Constitution. He violated the 14th Amendment to my face. So now I'm under the idea that 18 U.S. Code 1071, concealing a person from arrest may be at fault here in this situation. So my question now, what procedures will be put in place since there are no body cameras, or there were no body cameras, and there is no, you have provided zero transparency in this situation for my family and myself, in my very community where I raise my children, and where my children go to school. Why is it that now we have no answers still? That is it. Thank you. Thank you. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Shandara Lee. I am actually on the board of Howard County Community Real Estate, and Trayvell Martin is a family member. And I came here out of town to meet with the board and meet with the staff and get some type of answers, some type of justice, something from someone. I mean, we're talking about trees and we're talking about, all kinds of things, but this is a person. This is a human being. It could be anybody's child, relative, and it's just disheartening because it doesn't seem like this township is caring. I come from a town and a community, and I am on the board, and we give so much to our community in helping our community. Ignoring the problem is not going to put a Band-Aid on it. And I just think it's unfair, it's unjust that we can call ourselves a community and talk about things that are maybe important, but not compared to a human life. And I just want the people who've been elected, the people who's going to be elected, to show just humanity. Speak to this family, speak to the parents, give them answers. We're in concern, and I'm in concern of your board because there's nothing. And I just have one question. Are you the chief? Because I've been calling, I've not got no response. And from my understanding, I don't know, I could be wrong, but is there someone else that's the chief? Are you filling in? I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. But I have called
your station several times. And like I said, I belong to a board in Howard County, Maryland. So if someone can just address these concerns of a human life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will be adjourned for the executive session.
Okay, for the record, we just did have an executive session where we discussed several personnel issues and several matters of litigation. And there are only two, action items that came from that executive session. The first is I'm looking for a motion to authorize supplementing the public works employee's pay during his active duty status.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Dorff.
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
And the second motion that I'm looking for is a motion to authorize the execution of the agreement with the police department employee.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Bill Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Greg Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Brad Dorff.
Yes.
Mr. Donnell.
Yes.
Ms. Rao.
Yes.
That's all the action that we needed for the executive session action item.
Okay, reminder, zoning hearing board, 3/25/25 at 6 p.m. Board of Commissioners meetings for April, 4/15, 4/29, or 4/15, the regular meeting, 4/29, and that's the 5th Tuesday meeting. Also, Planning Commission, 4/7/25 at 6 p.m. It's possible that it might be canceled due to lack of business. Anybody have anything else?
The steering committee is having an open house on April 9th, 2025 at the Governmental Intermediate School in the cafeteria, 6 to 8 p.m. I would encourage also anyone from the public to fill out the survey that is available on the Cumru Township website. I'll also put the steering committee open house announcement on the website. The survey window of time is open until April 15th, tax day. Please feel free to fill those surveys out. This is the steering committee that's asking about residents' concerns and opinions with respect to economic development in the township. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, I was gonna say, you don't want to leave.
Bye.